Record following a conference between the attorneys as well as a bench conference for a pretrial in this case. And we were scheduled for a review, but I'll let Ms. Hanson-Grimes formally put her request for adjournment on the record after appearances.
Lee Heiss, lawyer guardian ad litem.
Nastasia Thomas, counsel with the department. Present is also Ms. Jamie Fries, who was the CPS investigator, and Mr. Christopher Farian, who is the ongoing CPS worker. Can you both state your name for the record?
Jamie Fries from the department.
Christopher Farian for the department.
Attorney Ashley Hanson-Grimes on behalf of Father Michael Mulholland. I believe he is joining us via Zoom, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Mulholland, if you can hear us, please give us your name for the record, please.
Michael Molland.
All right, we have another participant logged in under a Samsung phone. Would you like to give us your name, please?
Melanie Mulholland.
Thank you. Welcome. All right, Ms. Hanson-Grimes.
Yes, Your Honor. I was recently retained by Mr. Mulholland as in this week. And given that it's only Tuesday, it was rather late to give notice to the court. However, I have authored a substitution of attorney. I have spoken to his previous attorney, the Public Defender's Office, and Mr. Michael McFarland, and he has agreed to substitute me in as the new attorney for Mr. Michael Mulholland. Given those facts, I would like, and given how new this case is, as we're about 90 days since it was opened, I would like to request that within the confines of the juvenile law, that we be able to have a review as the children are placed with their mother in a 6-month time, which would give us till December to review this case and review the progress of the children. I had stated to the department my request and that I plan on filing certain motions that can be heard outside the confines of a review, but also will need further investigation before we put them in front of Your Honor. So at this time, we would waive any time frames as it relates to when the trial can be held, and we ask to secure a jury trial date after the first of the year to allow the criminal case to move forward, but to also allow for appropriate motions to be in resolution to be sought in this case. I don't think that I have any opposition at this time to this request. However, I will ask you to confer that with my fellow counsel.
Okay, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Judge. I do agree with Ms. Hanson-Grimes' resuscitation of the facts. And I also want to just put on the record that I had failed to meet my own time requirements for filing things such as the notice of intent to use child hearsay statements. We have also not filed our witness and exhibit list, so we were behind the ball, and we definitely would join her request in the adjournment. Thank you.
Ms. Heiss.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have visited with the children in person, and they are placed with their mother. All of their needs are being met in the current placement. The time frame suggested by defense counsel, I think it would not cause any prejudice to the children. So I join in asking for those new dates. Excuse me.
All right, thank you. I will also say that we discussed the fact that the 6 months is the requirement for purposes of trial. Right now, we have the jury trial scheduled for October 18th and 19th. The dates that we've secured to reschedule that to include enough time for potentially 3 expert witnesses is February 12th, 13th, and 14th, 2024, commencing at 9 a.m. Today will be documented as a pretrial, but the review portion, I think we're gonna move over to December to allow Ms. Hanson-Grimes to have a look at the exhibits more in depth before she's ready to potentially cross-examine Mr. Farian, if you will, on those documents, and to look at the issue of parenting time again for the older child. there are, as I understand it, some bond conditions preventing Mr. Mulholland at this time from parenting time with his daughter. And that is further supported by one of the exhibits that was provided today. But parenting time for this parent and his son is not definitively prohibited by the child's therapist. However, the therapist has effectively simply declined to offer an opinion on that at this time. Given the allegations in the petition and that obviously these two children are siblings, I would ask the department to seek further expert opinion on duration, frequency, and whether or not it's in the interest of Mr. Mulholland's son to spend some time with him. We've discussed the fact that both children appear to be missing their father, and that clearly the absence and the break in the familial relationship is affecting them. We are at pretrial stage. I don't have jurisdiction at this juncture to really be able to address that definitively, but it's appropriate to, the court finds it's appropriate to ask the department to continue considering what that looks like for Mr. Mulholland and his son. But even if I were to try to authorize parenting time for him and his daughter right now, there are bond conditions that prohibit that. Is that right, Ms. Hanson-Grimes?
It is my understanding that there is bond conditions regarding my client and minor children as a whole. And so I would seek to have his attorney on the criminal matter address those before I make an ask of this court. That certainly could not be fulfilled.
Thank you. All right, so our order will continue to prohibit parenting time, but also obviously it's prohibited in the other case for the time being. And if you want to file a motion on that to be heard at the same time with our review on December 12th at 10 a.m., that would be when I would ask you to maybe address that.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I am able to work with fellow counsel to relax those bond conditions in order to participate, I would like to file that ahead of time, whether that's be a stipulation, whether for an evaluation to occur as to what parenting time could look like, or if it would be appropriate. So I don't want to wait till December for that, if we can kind of move through the other restrictions.
I will be ordering today. They have additional evaluation for recommendations on parenting time. So if that comes back and you understand that that is recommended for them, you can feel free to file a motion if it's not back before it's time to do that in December.
The problem right now is what I foresee is if we don't work with the circuit court bond conditions, that my client wouldn't be able to participate in those evaluations. And that is what one of the letters requested. And so that's what I'm seeking leave to, I guess, authorize once the department, if they would confirm with me who they're thinking to be the evaluator, and if those bond conditions can be relaxed, then I would like my client to be able to participate in something that you have ordered. But as of today, as of snapshot in time today, we couldn't do that. And I don't want to set him up to fail or to create work for the department that isn't something that we're able to see through.
The suspension of parenting time would not extend to prohibit him if it were authorized in the circuit court case as well. Obviously, I have no control of that,
Right.
But if that's, in my opinion, the suspension of parenting time would not prohibit him from participating in an evaluation on parenting time if the parenting time evaluator wants him to be part of it.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any questions on that point?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. I would note for the record that one of the exhibits that we received today does appear to respond to one of the outstanding concerns that we've had in this case, which is that your client, Ms. Hanson-Grimes, had indicated he may potentially have some Native American heritage. It looks like we did get some responses back on that, indicating that there is no Native American heritage, but if you could make sure you follow up with that as it relates to your client and Mr. Farian to make sure that, if he does have eligibility and those resources are available to the family, that he's able to take advantage of this.
I certainly will. Thank you.
All right. Would you like to take some testimony from your client as it relates to the waiver on the timeframes, given the dates?
Yes, Your Honor.
Names?
Morning, Mr. Mulholland. You had previously heard me indicate that we would waive any timeframes that we are eligible for under the statute as it relates to having a trial in this matter within 6 months of the date of the initiation of the petition. Did you hear that earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and do you agree with that waiver, although you do have a right to have a jury trial within those 6 months, that you are waiving that right in order to facilitate some other things that are going on right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so you have no problem with the court writing that in its order today that those timeframes are waived and to continue to jury trial in February regarding this matter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Thomas, Ms. Heist, are you satisfied with the waiver based on the testimony of Mr. Mulholland?
I
Yes,
am,
Your
Your Honor.
Honor.
Thank you. All right, very good. I'm happy to sign an order releasing that video so that you can have a look at that and schedule any other motions and tender years as requested once those things are filed. Is there anything else that I can address for you or for the family this morning, ladies and gentlemen?
No, Your
Not
Honor.
at this.
All right, well, the court finds it does serve the interest of the children to allow for the adjournment, also the interest of the parents, so that Ms. Haynes Grimes can familiarize herself with the facts and circumstances of the case and the court report and exhibits that were prepared for today, as well as to have time to release and examine the video from the CTAC interview and all our CAC interview, sorry. And probably allow the parties to prepare for trial. But we would ask you to try to have your witness and exhibit list ready for exchanged, filed on or before our last retrial date in December. As it relates to the jury instructions, board your questions, the jury verdict form, we can set that for file and exchange no later than 2 weeks prior to trial, if that works for you.
It does, Your Honor.
Yes.
All right, I'll put that in the order as well. Unless there's any questions, that's all for today, and we'll see you December 12th at 10 a.m.
One further ask, Your Honor. May I have the CV or resume of any exhibits put forth of a professional witness by the department? And I will provide the same.
Absolutely.
Right away from Hillsdale, so we had a little bit of a delay that way, and then of course for that conference. But at this time, we're ready to get started, and I know you have a preliminary, Mr. Brooks, but we're just gonna do some appearances first.
Lee Heiss, lawyer, guardian ad litem.
Nastasia Thomas, counsel for the department. Ricky, you
Michael
can-
Brooks, I represent Mr. Stage, Your Honor. Mr. Stage, identify yourself, please.
Skylar Stage.
Okay, Ms. Thomas, do you want to introduce your caseworker today?
Yes, Ms. Nolan, you can put your appearance on the record, please.
My name is Ricky Ann Nolan.
All right, preliminary matter, Mr. Brooks.
Two of them, in fact, Your Honor. I do not have a copy of the petition from Branch County, so I don't know what the allegations are against my client. And number two, I find no paperwork in my paperwork, that shows he's ever been adjudicated, and he tells me he has not been adjudicated.
Okay, well, as I recall, Mr. Brooks, the last time we were here, we adjourned in order to allow some time to revise the case services plan. And I hand delivered a copy of the petition and adjudication order to you before you left the courtroom that day.
If that's the case, I have sadly got to admit I misplaced it. And if that's the case, I'll take the court's word for it. And we'll move on to the case service plan, for which I currently have no objections.
All right. we can, I can ask my clerk's office to email you over another copy, at least of those two documents. But yes, your client did undertake an adjudication before the case was transferred.
The petition is kind of different in this case because it's on the JCO 4B. There's just some language on there, and I think that is the entire petition. There isn't a separate document.
And Mr. Brooks, I did resend the email with that order of adjudication. I think I sent it September 25th or something like that. And then I just forwarded it so your office can have that for your file.
Well, I'm embarrassed enough as it is, but thank you. Thank you. I will get a hold of it, but I was going to take the court's word for it anyway, that she has in her possession the adjudication. At our last hearing, what I did was I objected to the case service plan as being unrealistic. And I withdraw my objection to the new case service plan.
And
Right.
for the record, I will say that my file was missing that order of adjudication as well. So it took me a minute to obtain it and I did pass it along. So I think it just stands for itself. We all sort of were missing some pieces.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, Ms. Thomas, we're having a little trouble with your microphone here this afternoon. If you could maybe play with that a bit. I do have a proposed case service plan. Mr. Brooks, I'm glad you've had a chance to look at that and talk with your client about it. Would you like to proceed with testimony today, Ms. Thomas?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Thomas?
Thank you. Ms. Nolan, you are the foster care worker in this case, correct?
Yes,
And you prepared you prepared and provided to the court and parties the current proposed case service plan, correct?
yes,
And in this proposed case service plan, it looks like there are three different timeframes, so to speak. One for current incarceration, and if there's further incarceration through a prison system, and then for release. Do you believe that those elements are tailored to meet Mr. Stage's current situation and the conditions that cause the child to come into care?
yes.
And the current goal for the child, what is the current goal for the child?
The current goal for the child is to be reunified with his mom.
Would you mind moving that microphone closer to you?
Yes.
It's that bigger piece. Yep.
It is to be reunified with his mom.
And, or any parent, correct?
Correct, yes.
And currently, were you able to inquire from Hillsdale Jail whether parenting time is an option?
Parenting time is an option. We are going to probably give him about 15 minutes or as long as the baby will do it. I have talked to him on the 28th of September and we have discussed this.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And to the best of your knowledge, has Mr. Sage been able to engage in any voluntary services?
No, he states he has nothing there to offer. So I have talked to him about sending him a book and then I will send him chapters that go with the book that has exercises, worksheets, and activities that he will do and then send them back to me.
Wonderful. And you did prepare a court report for the last hearing. Sorry, my computer screen just went on me. Was there anything from your court report that needed to be updated or modified other than the case service plan?
No.
And the child still remains in a foster placement?
Yes, she does. We are in the,
Oh, I was just going to ask, I know that you are very aware that there are inquiries, I guess, from the family as to whether a family or relative placement would be appropriate. Do you have any update on that process?
I have been to each of their homes and we are assessing them now. All three of them have a lot of CPS history. So we're kind of trying to weed out the information and go through the process.
And to the best of your knowledge, was that thoroughly explored when the case was managed by the other county?
No, it was not.
Okay, thank you for your efforts and also to remedy that. Is there anything that you'd like to report to the court outside of what you've just testified to?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions of Ms. Nolan and would move to admit the court report with the new proposed case service plan.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you. They are received. Questions, Mr. Brooks?
Ma'am, is one of the people, the family members that you have interviewed or investigated, Danielle Sheehan?
Yes,
All right. You've been to her home and checked that out as well?
yes,
Is she still being considered as a potential placement for this child?
yes. Everyone's still considered. Nobody, we're looking at all, there's 3 different parties.
All right, I understood that, but I just wanted to make sure she's one of them that you're looking at.
Okay.
I have no further questions.
I have no questions today, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anyone else you'd like us to hear from, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Anyone you'd like us to hear from today, Mr. Brooks?
Mr. Stage, is there anything you want the court to know?
Yes, sir. I want to bring it to your guys' attention.
You've got to be sworn under oath. All right, what is it you want to tell the court?
I just want to bring it to your guys' attention that Bonnie's parents are the ones that introduced me to methamphetamines, which started my addiction. Just for the concern of my daughter, I just wanted to bring that to the court's attention. And that's all I have.
Else? Okay, anything else?
No, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Stage, were you ever married to the mother of your child, Ms. Bonnie McGee?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Did you sign an affidavit of parentage, or how do you know that you are the legal father of the child?
I signed her birth certificate.
All right. Any questions, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Heiss?
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Anyone else today, Mr. Brooks?
One other question, Your Honor. Mr. Stage, what state was this child born in?
She was born in Branch County, Coldwater, Michigan.
Are you sure you didn't sign what's called an affidavit of parentage?
I signed the birth certificate. I was there. I cut her umbilical cord and everything.
All right. Thank you. I have nothing
Yes,
further.
sir.
Okay. Anyone you want us to hear from today, Ms. Heiss?
Your Honor, I would just like to report that I visited with the child through Zoom. She is in a very capable foster care placement that is meeting all of her needs, and there is an adult home 24 hours a day with her. She is progressing in growth in language, and it's my recommendation that we continue that placement pending either reunification or a relative is found. Generally, we like to move these children within 30 days, and I'm hoping that she, if there is a move, that we do it sooner rather than later. Thank you.
All right. Anything in closing, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks?
Thank you, no.
Very good. All right. Well, the court finds all interested parties are given notice for purposes of today's initial disposition hearing for Mr. Stage. I have also reviewed the proposed case services plan. Thank you very much, Ms. Nolan, for your efforts in revising this and in organizing parenting time. I do have to give you a new homework assignment today, which is to track down a copy of any affidavit of parentage or other evidence of legal parentage for Mr. Schuyler Stage.
I have CPS already on top of that.
Good, thank you. Let us know as soon as you, frankly, as soon as you find anything on that. If you could circulate that to the attorneys so that they can submit it to us. We need that to show that Mr. Stage is in fact both the legal and biological parent. And for all practical purposes.
I've come up with another question, if I may, Your Honor. Is that all right?
I suppose. I don't know what
I'll
the
make
question is yet.
Judge, I'll make it quick. Ma'am, to your knowledge, has anybody inquired of this couple, whether either of them has any Native American heritage?
Yeah, they do not.
All right. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, all right. Let's follow up on that just briefly with Mr. Stage as well. Mr. Schuyler Stage, do you know if you have any reason to believe that you or your child would be eligible, are tribal members, or would be eligible for enrollment in any Native American tribe or band?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for confirming.
Yes, ma'am.
I do have some information in the initial petition indicating Ms. Shelby Stage denied Native American heritage as well. But if you could follow up on that as well for our next report, that would be great to have that confirmed, because I know sometimes parents don't always think of it right away. So we'll just double check that with Ms. Shelby, or with the mother of the child as well, Ms. Bonnie McGee. Thank you. All right. We want to make sure if the child here is eligible, that she receives those benefits, and we adhere to those protocols if we need to. All right. As it relates to the case services plan, it is much more tailored to what's happening with Mr. Stage's circumstances, and sets forth a good plan for him, including visitation and building that bond or continuing that bond with his child. And it will become part of the court's order. It does not appear that there has been any progress, or significant progress made, I should say, in order to alleviate the risk of harm associated with returning the child to either parent today. Mr. Stage is obviously unavailable to take placement at the moment, having to deal with his incarceration, and we do not have enough services on Ms. Bonnie McGee as of yet to be able to return the child safely to her care. Without the risks that have been initially identified, which is that usage of methamphetamine and amphetamine. So we'll be looking for the updates on that and her progress, hopefully, at our next review hearing, which has already been scheduled. So it'll be a bit of a quick turnaround for Mr. Stage, but I would like to have both parents on the same path. So we'll set Mr. Stage's first review with the review that's already been set for Ms. McGee, and that will be on November 8th at 1:30 p.m. In the meantime, the child will remain in her foster care placement. Again, thank you, Ms. Nolan, for continuing to investigate the relative placement options for this child, and we'll look forward to those updates at our next review hearing. Thank you, Ms. Heiss, for your efforts. We certainly find you in satisfaction of your obligations as well.
Thank you.
And unless there's any questions, that's all for